If you're going to follow along in your show, go to Mr. Ben's TV Go on Facebook, and it's the writer one, right? You want to find there's a couple of different pages. They want the writer one, and that'll give them this connections, right? All this stuff.
You bet. Everything's on there. All the shows I recommend to binge on television shows or movies. There's over 600 of each, as well as everything that we talk about in our list, Al, are on there.
And the list the last 3 weeks, and I thought it was fantastic. Comedians who made their start on Johnny Carson. I feel horrible because I was never big not Louis Anderson, Louis Anderson fan. And the guy goes and dies a week after we do the bid. I feel horrible. But I love the category. The category was really fantastic. And then you came up with this one. And honestly, Binge, I thought we overshot it. I thought this being the Ed Sullivan Show was way too early, not enough centurions around. But I love the list. You put this list together. I'm looking like I know all of these. These are fantastic.
Well, this was an interesting list to do because different than Johnny Carson, Ed always had bigger stars, more established stars. So he didn't have as many first timers. Yeah. But these people, a lot of them, if not most of them, came from vaudeville and old people that were popular with our parents, not boomers, but our parents. So we, in fact, I find very interesting, were introduced to comedians that were famous before our time. That's why I think most boomers are so familiar with comedians from all eras from this show.
Well, yeah, because your folks would watch it. You'd be there. They're laughing at this stuff. And here's an example. Let's just get kick started. Jerry Stiller and Ann Mara. And I love
her. Ladies and gentlemen, a high school reunion can be very interesting. You never know who you'll meet. Jerry and I'd like to bring you all to a high school reunion.
Hi, Stanley.
Some party.
You look wonderful,
I
really.
run into people
I
I
haven't
haven't
put
seen.
on
I was
any
just
weight.
talking.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, this is unbelievable.
Is
it you?
It's me,
It's me too.
Mary Elizabeth Doyle.
Hershey Horowitz.
Oh, you haven't changed one bit.
Oh, neither
The
of
same
you.
beautiful eyes, the same smile.
Same blarney.
I think you've gotten shorter.
You got taller.
Oh, you're kidding. Oh, my God. How long has it been?
Oh, who knows? 15 or 16 years.
When was the last time we saw each other?
I don't know. Who keeps track of stuff like that?
June 13th.
June 14th.
It was a Thursday.
Friday. I know it was a Friday because you took me down to Coney Island for hot dogs, remember?
Yeah,
And after I ate the hot dogs, you told me it was Friday.
that's right.
And then I got sick.
That's right. Now I remember.
And you went.
Ben Stiller, it's just, and I like Ann, and don't get me wrong, I think she was a very funny lady. But Ben Stiller, for folks who just trying to put the name to the face, he was the dad on the Seinfeld show.
Absolutely.
That's got me 50 years later.
He is incredible. And this would have been about 65 or 1968. And the two of them, every routine they did on Ed's show was just outstanding. Storytelling at its best. Yeah. And to think he would go on and be on Seinfeld as a main great character says a lot about his style. And she even appeared on Seinfeld periodically.
I don't recall that. I can't even remember much more she was in. I remember being a comedian, but Jerry Stiller, that is amazing. That's 60 years of comedy. Good for him. And talk about making your best out of it, right? That's what we're doing with the Johnny stuff. There's a guy who took, honestly, and this is mean to say, his less than leading star role looks and made everything out of it he could.
Absolutely. Yeah. And he was on Ed Sullivan all the time. If you check on YouTube, there must be 15 or 20 segments of him on Ed Sullivan, them on Ed Sullivan. They must have been a favorite of Ed's because they were outstanding. Very, very good.
Very nice. And that, Kyle, talk about it. It puts a smile on my face when I saw this. This next one is just, I always thought, probably one of the funniest ladies ever.
Thank you, Ed. I don't know why Mr. Sullivan invited me over here tonight to talk to women drivers. I've got the world's worst record wrapped up for myself. You wouldn't believe it. See, the first time I ever drove downtown, everything went wrong. And it wasn't my fault. None of it. It was my husband's fault. Although he was not even alone. He had put the car in the garage backwards. Well, now that shot the heck out of my man. And right away, I went out the wrong end of the garage. And that put me on the wrong street, going the wrong way on a one-way street that wasn't going my way. Everybody was coming this way except me and one other woman.
Phyllis Diller. Now this is a young Phyllis Diller. If for folks who are going to follow along and join us on the deal, a very young Phyllis Diller. But that cackling laugh and her delivery, I've always loved her.
She, and you talk to anybody over the age of 40 and you mentioned Phyllis Diller, everyone knew her. I mean, she was hysterical. I think she's the funniest woman comedian there ever was. I think she was.
See, and you got a couple more coming up that I'd have to put on that list that are there. But Phyllis Diller is definitely top 5 for me. Oh no, absolutely. And for folks that she always had that weird fake cigar on a stick thing, and I think Cruella DeVille
she dressed crazily before it was that common. She was in costume playing that with that crazy cackle. She was hysterical on this show and still holds up today.
Oh, her comedy does. And again, you couldn't do her stuff today, which is funny. A woman ripping on women drivers. I mean, she was you can't, you just don't get to do it anymore. We're just easier back then. Now this guy, talk about doing everything you can. Okay, we'll talk first. We'll do this. Here it is.
It's nice being here again in the Ed Sullivan Show, you know. I mean, this is one place they treat you right. You know? Yeah, I did a show last week for a bunch of teenagers. I'll tell you, when these teenagers carry on, you can't tell boys from girls. I mean, the girls all wear slacks, fellas let their hair grow. Yeah, I was talking to someone yesterday. I said, look at that teenager. Watch that, a boy or a girl? He said, that's a boy. That's my son. I said, sure, you knew you're his father. He said, I'm not his father, I'm his mother. I'll tell you, talk to people, you don't know who to believe, you know? I mean, every time a baby is born, the parents say the same thing. We don't care what it is as long as it's healthy. I mean, they're lying, they do care what it is. I mean, how would they feel if the doctor walked over to them and said, your parents, and it's healthy, but I don't know what it is. Oh, and after a baby is born, women all have the same problem. They all want to get their figure back, you know? That's all you hear. I want to get my figure back. I mean, I've seen some of the figures. Why they want them back, I'll never know. You know?
Rodney Dangerfield. I'm sorry, but that same shtick, and that has got to be in the 60s, maybe early 70s, was still his shtick through his whole life. I get no respect. You know, I love Rodney Dangerfield.
When he was in a movie or when he was on Ed Sullivan Show or any show he did, like just what you said, he did exactly the same routine, the exactly same nervous twitches, and it was exactly as humorous, whatever he did. He could be in the worst movie ever made, and his scenes were funny because he is funny.
And he had a weird way. It was his way. Is you almost felt nervous for him because of the twitch, like his little hand would be moving on his side, like, oh man, I think he's a little nervous, and he just pulled that off. So, and through his entire life, and there's a guy back to not having the leading man looks. That guy just made fun of himself and his wife. I see. This is fantastic. This is a great list.
Of anybody on this list, I think he holds up the best with his humor, as far as not sounding dated. Some of the subjects might be a little dated, but his style still, he could be a brand new star today and be just as popular, I think.
See, I would completely agree with that. He's good. Now, you had mentioned that Phyllis Diller is probably one of the funniest lady comedians. I think this next one ranks up there. We'll talk.
I'll tell you something, the way the styles are today, I'm glad I'm married, because if I was single, I could never get married looking like this, you know? And I feel sorry for any single girl today. The styles and the whole society is not for single girls, we know that. Single men, yes. A man, he's single, he's so lucky. A boy on a date, all he has to be is clean and able to pick up the check. He's a winner. You know that. Well, a man can call up anybody in the whole world. You know that? Hello, I saw your name in the locker room. I thought I'd give you a quick call. A girl can't call. Girl, you have to wait for the phone to ring, right? And when you finally go on the date, the girl has to be well dressed. The face has to look nice. The hair has to be in shape. The girl has to be the one that's bright and pretty, intelligent, a good sport. Howard Johnson's again. Hooray, hooray.
I honestly think Joan Rivers, and you may disagree with me, took that whiny woman to the problems of being, she did everything with that. She's back at the Rodney Dangerfield. She did that bit through her whole career. Heck, she even got a job talking about fashion, ripping people on ETV or whatever, doing fashion ripping. I liked her. I thought she was funny.
She was, and she reinvented herself over and over and over again, when really what she was, in my opinion, was a female Don Rickles. She would rip on everybody and do it very well. And it was funny. And when she did like the red carpet things and all that stuff, that was the only ones I would watch because it was funny because you'd rip on people. She's a little more controversial because of it, because I think she was a little later than a Phyllis Diller, but I think she's every bit as talented, and in many ways took Phyllis Diller's act to another level.
I don't want to be mean, but you brought it up. We got to go to break. I don't see Rip Taylor on here.
Rip Taylor is on there.
Is he? Okay, well, good. We'll get to
Yeah.
it. We got stuff to do. We'll be back after this with more with Mr. Binge.
Or supposed to be. Yep.
All right, I missed number 20.
Rip Taylor, young
Good.
Rip Taylor, doesn't even look like Rip Taylor in that.
No.
Yeah,
This is a great list. These are fun.
surprisingly well known, considering the show ran from 48 to 71.
Yeah, yeah. The closest is 50 years. I mean, that's
Yeah.
just amazing. So that's great.
Cool.
Good job.
Thank you. It's fun.
We're going to get out with 9. We'll have about 6 minutes. We'll probably only get through Henny Youngman.
No problem.
All right. Can it get any colder? Goodness gracious.
I'm getting so sick of it. It's ridiculous. And I don't even want to see my utility bill in my buildings, especially thrifting with purpose. You know,
Yeah.
it's a profitable enterprise to some degree, not probably this month.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's horrible, but I do see that it looks like we're done here in about, well, by tomorrow it's 25 and we don't dip back below zero again in the daytime for some time. But this is a horrible day.
This has been nasty. Nasty.
All right. 1 minute out, I'll push the buttons.
Perfect.
Southern Minnesota's #1 talk show. Follow the show on Facebook at Al in the Afternoon. Al Travis, your friend that knows a guy.
I've got him, Lewis Binge, Mr. Binge TV guru. Look him up on Facebook. Lewis, you scared the living daylights out of me. Do you have no radio ethics in you at all? Moments before we go live, you stand up and go off screen.
Make you a little nervous, did I? Make you a little. Mom needed something. I had to go quick.
Figured she called you. All right, let's do this last one. We're gonna run out of time, but I will let you chat about him first, and we'll discuss after this.
I didn't sleep last night. I had a nightmare. I dreamt that Liz Taylor and my wife had a fight over me, and my wife won. My wife looks like the closest thing to Liz Taylor. She looks like Richard Burton. I was just out the coast. I know Liz and Dick very well. I made a fortune. I used to sell them no-dose tablets years ago. And They said that marriage wouldn't last a year. Why can't I have a year like that? Look what's going on in Hollywood. Sinatra's going with a young girl, and Cary Grant married a young girl. Henry Fonda married a young girl. I can't wait till I get old.
It's Henny Youngman, and I thought he was a funny enough guy, but he wasn't one of my favorites on the list. Go ahead.
Oh, see, now I'm going to differ a little bit. He's one of my favorites. He's definitely an old style because he tells jokes,
Yes.
one-liners, which now it's more of a storytelling style that most people use. But he was the master of the one-liner. Of course, everybody knows or should know his most famous line, which is, "Take my wife, please."
Please, yeah. Well, and
You
that
know,
was probably the other thing about him is almost all of his marriage, right?
Yep.
I'm sure his wife had a very good sense of humor and she was fine with it. But as comparing his marriage, he did a lot of "my wife sucks" humors, right?
Yes.
One-liners, which he made a living on. But back to these others, Rodney Dangerfield. I mean, he was in Caddyshack, one of the greatest movies ever made. Phyllis Diller was on other stuff. Jerry Stiller was on other. Joan Rivers did stuff. Henny Youngman really was just this stand-up comedian
A
one-liner.
great one-line guy for this kind of program only. I agree with you. He was not going to go off and do movies and things. He did play the violin as part of his act, but I don't think well. Kind of
No.
like what's his name, Jack Benny. You know,
Yeah.
with that in it. But I thought he was very funny, and if you listen to him quite a bit, he has some great one-liners, but they're definitely one-liners.
The thing with the violin with him, it seemed to me it was just a thing to do with his hands.
The prop.
You know, it was just a prop to have, and I'm the comedian. Remember, I'm the one with the violin because it was never the main piece of his gig. It was ripping on his wife, so it seems strange to me. The violin again, not one of my favorites. I'm not that he was bad, but he was a one-liner guy. Let me tell you,
His style is definitely dated in today's standards, but he does have some great one-liners. So there you have it. That's what he's famous for.
Exactly. Now, we brought this up. You brought it up, and then I said, well, where's Rip Taylor on this? I did look down the list. You do have Rip Taylor on this. I'm very excited to go through that and chat with him. There are a ton of great comedians coming up, but we're out of time this time.
You know, we're going to have to do this again next week because there are some great ones coming up, and almost everyone listening will know almost all these people, if not all of them.
Well, yeah, I think there's one or two that are going to be okay, a little older or whatever. But what did you say? When was the start of the Ed Sullivan Show? It ran through 71, which was 50 years ago. When did it start?
1948. And
Wow.
1948 on television. Now, Ed had a radio show for many years before that, where he did interviews and stuff. And his style remained the same all through. He was known for not having that wild of personality as far as presenting the acts. But almost anybody who was anybody, even before Carson, wanted to be on the Ed Sullivan Show.
So you're talking 73 years to 50 to 73 years ago. That's when these folks were on, and we're remembering them. That's how good these guys were. That's why this is hard to say any of them were slouches. You know, Rodney Dangerfield, that's 50 some years of being in the business. You know who we are, you know.
Well, and like we were saying earlier, so many of them, like a Phyllis Diller and people like that, were probably at their peak when our folks were young,
Yeah.
you know, and we saw them because they were still doing it in the 60s and 70s.
And I think almost all of these so far have been in the Cannonball Run movies, which were another set of great. I almost think they were.
Undoubtedly.
I'd have to do some looking up on that. Mr. Binge, TV Guru. They can find you on Facebook under Mr. Binge, TV Guru. I thank you for another great list. This is a good list. I was scared to death with this, but to be honest, it brings back a lot of memories, a lot of stuff. Sitting around watching some TV with the folks. This is kind of cool.
Absolutely. And look forward to showing you some new ones next week.
All right, we'll be back with more. Thanks, Mr. Binge. Mr. Binge,
bet.
TV Guru. Follow him on Facebook.